Yeah, so we're back and better than ever. And I want you guys to know, as we've said before and you've heard already on this show, that we want to thank you if this is your first time joining the show. If you've never been here before, we would like you to know that we're family. We've always been family. You just didn't know it. So, with that said, we're going to get into the land grant gauntlet. We've got Chris and Brady, what should I call you guys? The experts, the Big 12 experts?
We're guys with a lot of time on our hands. That's for sure.
I don't know about experts. That might be going a little too far.
We've watched football for quite some time.
That, in my opinion, is going to make you our experts. That's what we're going to go with, all right?
I like it.
We are very excited because the AP Top 25 just came out. The season is less than 2 weeks away, and college football is in the air. Everybody's ready for it. We, of course, excited more than most because we've got Mount and Greer. And the LGG is excited because the Big 12's got 5 teams in the top 25 looking to build on that 4-2 resume out of the bowl season. What do you guys think? Are you guys thinking that there's going to be a resurgence of the Big 12 this year?
Oh, I think hands down there's going to be. I think top to bottom, the conference is improving. There's only 2 teams that I really expect to take a step back. So overall, I expect a lot out of the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, you've got the right balance of returning talent, returning experience, high-end players like Mason Rudolph, Baker Mayfield, James Washington, Oklahoma's offensive line. Then you've got programs like West Virginia, who probably this season will be the first time since they've been in the Big 12 where the depth is there to compete from game one to the end of the year in a Power 5 conference. West Virginia has always had the talent on their starting 11, but once you get deep into October and November, it just wasn't really there for them yet. But finally with Holgorsen, there's the depth there. So you got to be excited if you're in Morgantown. And the same thing for Iowa State, Kansas State. A lot of these programs that have been kind of down in the dumps over the last few seasons, they actually have some optimism. So, yeah, I mean, going back to Big 12 Media Day, Chris and I, we both kind of sensed there was a large excitement and optimism in the air when it came to the Big 12.
I'm glad you guys said that, especially when you talked about what we have returning. A lot of people wanted to disparage us because of the early season issues we had last year, but the Big 12 finished this season strong. There's a lot of returning strength. WVU finished with 10 wins. Oklahoma State's being touted with 2 possible Heisman contenders, and Oklahoma looks to have possibly the best offensive line in the country.
Yeah, 4-2 in bowl games.
Yeah, 4-2 in bowl games. If you had to give me your rundown of, let's go with the Big 12's Player of the Year. Who would you say is going to be your Big 12 Player of the Year candidates?
Player of the Year? Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think Mason Rudolph is a strong candidate. He's got Heisman potential, Baker Mayfield, all those. But out of the blue, I would probably say keep an eye on Jacob Park, Iowa State quarterback. I think that they could take a jump this year. Probably not. I mean, Iowa State's not going to contend for the Big 12, obviously, but they'll make a step. But if you look at, that's typically a player in contention for the conference. I think your usual suspects: James Washington, Mason Rudolph, Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to who ends up winning the regular season title, at least. I don't know if you guys got a chance to listen to our prediction show from a few weeks ago. We both picked OSU to at least win the regular season title. We didn't really get into who would actually win the Big 12 championship. Again, I picked OSU. So if OSU does end up winning, I think the nod is going to go to Mason Rudolph, because if OSU is able to win, the 9 games in conference night, or just win the season outright, then you're going to see Mason Rudolph with the stats, with the numbers, with the big wins over Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas State, and all that optimism is probably going to lead to him winning the conference or the Player of the Year on offense.
You left out West Virginia as part of the big wins, okay?
Yeah. No, I think specifically I remember from my prediction, at least, I think I had West Virginia and OSU being undefeated when they met in the middle of the year. I have the schedule right in front of me. OSU is it's the 6th or 7th game of the year. I have West.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, go ahead.
I think WVU has 6 games before they play Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I have that game being a matchup of 2 undefeateds, and it's which would be great for the Big 12 at that point in the year. For OSU, it's the week before Bedlam, so that's a huge 2-week stretch for them. But again, I got to see something out of Will Grier other than what I saw at Florida and the hype that I've been hearing, all off season. I think it's definitely going to be a step up over Skylar Howard. I just don't know what that would equate to wins in the grand scheme of things, wins and losses.
It's not just about Will Grier either. I mean, obviously he looks like he's going to be an elite quarterback at this point, or has that potential. But West Virginia lost a lot on defense going into this year, and they have to show that they can replace that talent. I know they like who they have on campus, but we're going to have to see some of that before we're just going to give them the benefit of the doubt to be the A contender. I think they're the next level, the what you would call the dark horse. But if they do win the conference, if they come out strong and prove me wrong, then Will Grier would definitely be a candidate for Big 12 Player of the Year for sure.
Oh, definitely. I mean, West Virginia, the biggest concern with me about the Mountaineers is just simply their schedule is so backloaded. You've got Oklahoma State, Iowa State, at Kansas State, Texas, and then at Oklahoma to round out the year. That's going to be difficult for any program in this conference. That's the way your season ends. All those programs with the talent, the coaching, while a lot of the coaches in the Big 12 are kind of first year or second year young guys, there's a lot of proven experience in this conference. So, but the edge I'll give to West Virginia, and I'll admit, and I've been kind of high on it ever since Big 12 Media Day, is what Holgorsen has been kind of chirping on, is just the depth is there finally. And hopefully now with the schedule being backloaded, that depth will actually come in handy, and then West Virginia can win a game or two that they would have otherwise lost in seasons past.
Yeah, we're expecting the same thing. I do want to speak to a couple of things you said. One, you talk about the end of our schedule. To use a word that you guys have in your title, it's a gauntlet. There's no question about that. That is something that for sure is concerning to me. They did not do us any favors in the scheduling department. You talked about Will Grier offensively, and that's something you guys are talking about, anticipating what does that actually equate to. We're looking at him possibly or probably being a major upgrade over Skylar Howard. What do you think about Justin Crawford being the leading returning rusher for the league, a Maxwell Award candidate, or at least watch list? Have you guys given any attention to that? We call him the stable that they have in Morgantown with Kennedy McCoy, Martell Pettaway, and Justin Crawford.
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely have, and he's a very talented back. I was surprised that he was not named the Big 12 running back on the Big 12 preseason All Big 12 team. So that one kind of surprised me that Justice Hill won that over him. Definitely a talented back, and he's going to take some pressure off of Grier, obviously, in the pass game if the defense has to respect that run game. So I think you're absolutely right. People might be sleeping on him a little bit because they've kind of all the attention is started to focus on OU and OSU as we get closer to the season. But you're definitely right. He's a very talented back.
I think the nod for Justice Hill just kind of comes from Justice Hill played more. I mean, Crawford played. I mean, just a quick glance at his stat line. I looked at it a few weeks ago. He didn't necessarily play the brunt of the, from the backfield for the Mountaineers until the Oklahoma game where he just went off. And then I think 2 weeks later, he had a 200-yard performance against, I can't really remember at this point. But he certainly ended the season off on an extremely high note, and it gives Mountaineer fans a lot to be excited for. He was extremely electric, especially, in that Oklahoma game. It's really weird. When you're down 42-7, you typically can't run the ball. But this kid was able to just dominate the game from that point on and got the Mountaineers back into the ball game. So I think it's definitely he's definitely a sleeper at this point in the offseason. Now when there's a few games under everybody's belt, I think a lot of people around Big 12 country are going to know Justin Crawford's name.
I'm going to be honest, there was no need to mention the score, okay? There was no need.
Well,
that was completely unnecessary.
No, it's definitely...
I just want to say it was unnecessary, okay?
Okay, fair enough.
I'm just teasing you. Now, you were talking about the defense, and like you said, we lost 8 starters if you don't count Drayvon Askew-Henry coming back, the safety, who was a freshman All-American. We do count him, so we say we only lost 7 starters, if we're being honest, because he would have started last year. He would have been on everybody's radar. So, and we do like the bodies we have on campus. The size, the speed, the athleticism, probably the most athletic defense we've had ever. But they're young at a lot of positions. And like you said, while we're happy with the guys that are on campus, a lot of it's all show until it's time to go. So we got to wait and see what we actually have. So I agree with you there. I am not a homer. I say this all the time. I'm not a homer. People typically will call me pessimistic. I, of course, call myself realistic. That's how that kind of goes. I think the defense is going to surprise a lot of people. I think we might have the best defense in the Big 12 again this year. And you feel free to laugh at that because it sounds absurd when you lose that much. But we lost that much last year. And Tony Gibson was able to turn that into the number one defense in the Big 12.
Now, Tony Gibson is a very talented defensive coordinator, but I don't know if you can lose that much talent and then come back with the best defense in the conference.
He did it last year. That's what I'm saying. He did that last year. He lost 7 starters.
I was going to say, like, this conference is kind of like the NFC South a few years ago in the NFL where whoever won the division one year, the next year it's someone completely different, and that kind of that trend kind of followed for 7 or 8 years. So I guess Atlanta's going to suck this year. But anyway, it's really inconsistent on.
I agree with you.
It's really inconsistent defensively because 2014 TCU had a really great defense. Then 2015 OU had a great defense. 2016 OU's defense was terrible, and West Virginia losing 8 starters, you would probably think, okay, their defense is not going to be the strong suit there. But the athleticism and the depth is certainly there, and with the coaching, I mean, to say West Virginia might have the best defense in the conference because of what I just talked about of its kind of recent history. I mean, it's not necessarily a crazy thing to say, and it's definitely not a homer thing to say.
Well, the other thing is the trend is 4 years in a row our defense has improved. So losing starters, whatever it is, 4 years in a row, Tony Gibson has improved our national rank defensively. So that's why I have the faith that I have in giving what he calls the dogs, because he calls them dogs because defense always wins games. And so we're excited about that. So I listen to your show. I'm not sure that all of our listeners have listened to the Quick Slant podcast, the Land Grant Gauntlet. Can you give us a rundown of how you picked everyone to finish? Of course, we've heard your thoughts on the Mountaineers, but can you give us a rundown of how you picked everyone to finish, some of your thoughts on the reasons why, and I'll give each of you guys a chance to give your thoughts and opinions.
Well, I'll go first. I'll kind of give you my rankings of the conference without necessarily a schedule coming into play, because on the show, on our prediction show, we ran through the schedule, and it actually came out a little bit different than I would actually power rank the teams. So I'll give you my power rankings. I have Oklahoma State number 1. I feel like with the weapons they have on offense, they're going to have a great defense. They have a nice linebacker core, a good defensive front. The secondary has some question marks, but anytime you move your most experienced corner to safety, I feel like you have to feel pretty good about your cornerbacks you have in the wings. So I like what Gundy has there. I feel like if they had any other, a more recognizable logo on their helmet, that they would be ranked higher in the country. I like Oklahoma number 2. It's a very close call. It's basically a coin flip between the two teams. I think Oklahoma State has a little bit better schedule. Oklahoma's looking for some weapons, someone to step up at running back, someone to step up at receiver. But for me, it's just a matter of who, not if, behind that offensive line that they have with Baker Mayfield as quarterback running that offense. He knows it very well. Even with a new head coach in Lincoln Riley, where situational play calling and how experienced Riley is in that might come into play during the season, but still someone is going to step up in that offense. So I like Oklahoma a lot. My next rung is Kansas State and West Virginia. Kansas State, I give them the nod. I think people forget just how good they looked in their bowl game and how they were an instant Big 12 contender because of who they had coming back. They have a very experienced offensive line. They lost a little bit of depth here right before the season, but with their center had to retire. And then you look at West Virginia with Will Grier and the weapons they have. Questions on defense, like we already talked about, so I won't get into it too much. But I have them at number 4. And then I have, after West Virginia, I have TCU and Texas. Those two are kind of the next rung, the unknown. I don't know what to expect out of TCU. They have the talent to be very good. In fact, some people are ranking them number 2 in the conference. And I think, who was it today? Herbstreit ranked them to win. It said they'll win the Big 12.
He picked them to a Final Four in 2015, didn't he? And
I don't see that out of TCU. I feel like their spring game showed some questions that were left over from last season where their defense kind of fell apart. Kenny Hill's play is way too inconsistent for me to kind of bet on them. And then with Texas, I think they're a huge unknown. There's a lot of hype in Austin. People think that Texas is quote-unquote back, but if you listen to Tom Herman, and he kind of,
aren't they always back?
Yeah, right. And, last year I totally bought into it with the talent they had and Charlie Strong, and it kind of bit me. I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to, they have to show it to me first, and not in a Notre Dame kind of way where they were back for a game. And then, it turned out Notre Dame wasn't all that great either.
Someone needs to check on Chip Brown down in Austin, saying UT's going to go 12-1.
Yeah, 12.
Hey, how did Notre Dame finish last year? I just like to let the people hear it again.
4-8.
Yeah.
4-8.
Yeah, 4-8.
We had a writer here in the state. I won't say his name, but he picked Notre Dame number 3 in his preseason AP poll.
Bless his heart.
Wow.
Bless his heart is the right phrase. But all right, I'll let you continue. I'm sorry.
So then I have Texas there. I think they obviously have a lot of talent in Austin, but they're short on tight ends. They don't have the quarterback that Herman really wants, so that's going to be some concerns there. They're not going to I actually have them going 5-7 again. So that's kind of where I have Texas. After Texas, who do I have? Iowa State. That's who I have after Texas. I think Iowa State takes a big jump up. Jacob Park is...
Well, not that big.
I'm sorry?
Evidently not that big.
Well, I mean, it's hard. Let's be clear. It's really hard to jump a rung in the Big 12 when everybody plays the round robin and everybody plays everybody. There has to be kind of a spot opening because the way the wins and losses work. You can't just be better and expect to jump up if everybody in front of you is also improving. It's going to take a lot because of the schedule. So, yeah, I have Iowa State much improved in their play, but because of kind of who is ahead of them, they can only jump up so far. The fact I have them jumping 2 rungs of the ladder is kind of a testament to how good I think they're going to be, or how improved I think they're going to be under Jacob Park and another year in Campbell's system. You see the teams they played close last year, as they kind of started to figure out Campbell's system, they absolutely obliterated Texas Tech. I think that's more indicative of the Iowa State team we will see this year. They're going to be very they're going to have a potent offense. They're going to have some weapons. Then people are going to have to watch out, and they're not going to be the give me that they've been in years past. And then I have Baylor and Texas Tech after that. I think both of those teams take a step back. Baylor is just struggling because of their lack of depth. They have a lot of talent, but it's thin. If they start losing guys as the season goes on, as the gauntlet goes on, they're not going to be able to survive it. I think we saw that last year where they lost their last 6 games, but they came out with a month of rest and had an impressive bowl performance. They have the talent to win 1 game, but when you get into a season and you have to worry about your depth, kind of like years past for West Virginia, how they didn't have the solid Big 12 depth behind their starters. It'll be a little bit of the same situation for them, for the Bears. Texas Tech, that offensive line is not – it's just not good. I'll try not to be too harsh, but it's just not good. We see how ridiculously good Patrick Mahomes is and was in that system, and now he's doing it in the NFL. We've seen it in a couple preseason games. I think very, very highly of Patrick Mahomes. But the flip side of that is – without Patrick Mahomes to sit there and to extend plays, to basically just be a gamer and try to will Texas Tech to some wins. They didn't win a lot last year with him. Without him, it's less. And so I have them taking kind of a significant step back. And then I have Kansas. Unfortunately for Kansas, they're still in the basement. They're still the worst team in the Big 12. But that's not really indicative of how I feel that David Beatty is doing in Lawrence. I think that he's doing a great job. I think Kansas has closed the gap. They're much more competitive than they used to be. But it might not show up in the standings just yet.
They have an excellent defensive line coach they added, Jesse Williams. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see what that group of guys does. I think their defensive line is going to be stout.
Yeah, they're going, like they beat Texas last year, they're going to pull off a couple of wins on the conference this year. It's going to be much more competitive.
They have possibly the best defensive player in the conference. And I've tried to remember his name for the last 3 weeks, and every time I think about it, it's a defensive end.
The name's not – it's not Kaiser White, so you're wrong about that.
I said possibly.
I'll allow you possibly.
No, but I mean, our power rankings are pretty much basically the same when you're just kind of comparing talent, coaching, schedule, all the factors that kind of go into how do you think a team is going to project. I mean, our power rankings are pretty damn similar. I guess I'll talk about West Virginia, Texas, OSU, and OU. You know, the four bigger, more school programs that everybody's probably more interested in on this particular show. With West Virginia, of course, it's going to come down to Will Grier. If he's the answer, then West Virginia is in for a special year. Because it was very apparent last year. West Virginia had a lot of things go their way, a lot of things that they earned on the field, but they were a playmaker away at the quarterback position from winning a few of those games that they ended up dropping towards the end of the year and having a much better regular season. If Will Grier's that guy, I think West Virginia's basement is 9 wins, and 9 wins would be huge for West Virginia this year. And that would probably mean they beat either Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, one of those schools. That would be huge, especially if they're able to beat Oklahoma, a school that they haven't been able to beat since they've joined the Big 12.
We save our wins against Oklahoma for bowl games. Okay.
Oh yeah,
we save them for a very important
bowl games and Jeff Hostetler when coming.
That's right. That's right.
With Texas, guys, I really don't see it. I don't see any of the hype. And I said it on the prediction show a few weeks ago. If anybody else was the head coach at Texas, I feel like the optimism would still be the same. I think Texas is always going to garner a lot of hype, especially when there's a new, guy at the head coaching position. That's not to say that Tom Herman is a bad coach. I think he has the potential to be a great coach, but I still need to see him perform at a program with expectations and not try to be the guy trying to knock off the big school with the bigger expectations, because that's a much easier task. One game out of 12 or 13 weeks, then do it 12 or 13 times every week in and week out in a Power 5 conference. So while their optimism is there, I just don't see it. I think Texas's ranking is laughable at this point. In the 5-7, just fired your head coach, lost a lot of talent already. What talent they had on offense, they lost a lot of.
Not sure who your quarterback is.
Yeah, Bichelle. While he gets a huge asterisk that he was a true freshman last year. I mean, if you can't pass the ball over the middle of the field as a quarterback in the Big 12, you don't have a bright future ahead of you. Now, he could certainly turn the corner with Tom Herman's coaching, but again, I need to see something.
He's not a guy that's going to tuck the ball and run over somebody either.
No,
and that's kind of who Herman wants.
He's not even a Baker Mayfield type quarterback, where Baker's not necessarily fast. He's not going to beat you with his legs, but he can extend plays because he's such a great scrambler.
Yeah,
I heard a guy say once that Baker's just like a glorified Skylar Howard. I don't know if you guys ever heard that. Shout to Jay and Fiend.
I don't know if you guys have. I don't know if you guys saw, but when the media got to go into OU's locker room a few weeks ago, they saw that Baker Mayfield had written notes that are in his locker, on the door of his locker, that kind of motivate him. And I really wanted to Photoshop Raspy Kids think that Baker Mayfield's a glorified Skylar Howard.
You should have done it, man. We'd have loved that. I will say, I want to say about Tom Herman, I have not forgotten that Tom Herman took a third-string quarterback and made that offense hum as well as it ever had run, including a big victory against Alabama with Cardale Jones being that third-string quarterback. And Cardale Jones is not Joe Montana. We see he's not caught on in the league. Nothing exceptional about him. So I personally believe in what he can do for a quarterback. I'm just not sure that you can make that kind of turnaround in 1 year. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm with you guys. We'll have to wait.
Especially Tom Herman all offseason, he's been trying to balance the optimism with really tempering expectations. Even at Big 12 Media Day, he basically said, guys, we do not have the playmakers on defense. We don't have the playmakers at wide receiver, tight end. And, it's just guys, just calm down. We will get better.
They have some receivers. Yeah. They have a decent receiving core. I'll give them that.
Yeah. And on the prediction show, I actually predicted Texas to really finish out the year a lot better than how they'll start it. The depth isn't there. The talent isn't there just yet. Like I said, their ranking right now is a little bit of a joke. I think that's just trying to set up a 2-0, matchup between USC and Texas ranked. Texas and USC, they can be both winless, and that'd be a fun big game regardless. It's two of the best programs in college football history. But I just don't see it. Not this year. I don't see them beating USC. I don't see them getting a win at the Cotton Bowl, even against Lincoln Riley in his first year. So again, I could be totally wrong after a few weeks, and I could be like Joe Tessitore last year and saying that Texas is back.
Texas is back. Here's the thing, man. You keep saying we could be wrong. Everybody could be wrong. You look at these guys who get paid lots of money to make these predictions, and they're not any more right than we are. So why can't we say how we feel? That's why we have you on the show.
There we go. Okay? There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, and to be honest, we probably know more than they do when it comes to specific conferences and our specific teams.
Especially ESPN. They don't really watch the Big 12 that much.
No.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's why was it Booger McFarland picked Ohio State to win the Big 12? Was that him?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It would have
made more sense if he said Oregon State. Both orange.
Yeah, I don't know.
Still wrong, but makes more sense.
I don't know where all this recent love for TCU is coming from, but in the last 2 days, College Football Talk ranked them second in the Big 12.
I think that's just a lot of respect for Gary Patterson.
It is.
That's what I was going to say. It's got to be respect for Gary Patterson.
Yeah. He with Bob Stoops retiring, he really takes a step up in the coaching echelon in the Big 12 conference. He's a guy that no matter what they lose from going in from one year to the next, he's a guy that you can always count on that something is going to click right at some point in the year. And while last year was really disappointing, I kind of put a lot of that on Kenny Hill. I've never been a Kenny Hill guy.
Kenny Trill.
Yeah, Kenny Trill. I've never really been a Kenny Trill guy, just like the rest of the Milky Way galaxy, I think, at this point.
But now, do you have license to use Trill?
I can say what I want, man. It's my podcast. I've been licensed to Trill.
No, it's so weird because this, in my head, it makes sense, but when I say it, this doesn't make sense. If TCU was TCU was coming into this year with an unknown at quarterback, I would be higher on them than I am with them returning Kenny Hill.
Yeah, I can't blame you.
If they just had some no-name guy that, okay, I've seen Gary Patterson work wonders with no-name guys, but Kenny Hill has a name and it's 5-7, not winning.
Turnover machine,
losing you games that you shouldn't lose. Arkansas, I mean, they really should have beat Oklahoma last year.
Yeah. Now, if they came in with a guy that had like an arm or something like that, or a guy that they were high on, I definitely understand what you're saying, because Kenny Hill is just not consistent. And until he proves that he can be, then that's going to be his reputation, and TCU is going to live and die on that.
And
all right, so
go ahead.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I asked you the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, and we went through all the teams. I want to know now, who's your Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year?
Want me to take this one?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's got to be the Kansas kid, and
it's probably going to be him if he performs, because he's getting the preseason hype. And anytime you see these awards, a lot of the times you see guys win it simply because they got the build up to the award. There are times where a player comes out of nowhere and plays at an All-American level and then doesn't get the nod because he wasn't in the preseason rankings. So if this kid, and again, I can't, Chris is looking his name up right now. If he's able to perform, stay healthy.
Type faster.
Dorrance Armstrong.
Yeah, it started with it. Yeah, Dorrance. If Dorrance Armstrong is able to perform, and Kansas is able to win, a game or two that surprises some people, he's definitely going to get the nod. I really am high on Caleb Kelly from Oklahoma. I mean, watching him in that Sugar Bowl, guys, it was apparent. I mean, he was the Big 12's only 5-star recruit a few years ago when he came out of high school from California, and it's really showing. Oklahoma's defense was awful last year, but as soon as Mike Stoops got him on the field more frequently, Oklahoma's defense improved significantly, and they looked worlds better at the end of the year because of it. It's going to be interesting to see if they're able to keep him on the field. I know Mike Stoops definitely wants to. With them moving to the 4-3, he's going to have a lot more opportunity to basically roam the field. He looks a lot bigger than he did last year. I can see a lot of just havoc-wreaking highlights from Caleb Kelly. I think he's an NFL stud in the making.
I mean, this is the Big 12. Don't ask us about defense.
Hey, speak for yourself, man. I'm telling you, I believe in West Virginia's defense. I don't know as much about the other teams. That's why we have you guys on. I'm excited to watch Caleb Kelly now. I'm excited to watch that kid from Kansas. But I'm telling you, watch Drayvon Henry, watch Kaiser White, We got a kid named Brendan Ferns, who was a four-star kid that we beat Ohio State and Penn State for, who tore his knee up last year before the season started. He'll be back. We got some dogs. We got some guys who can go.
Here's like one large dark horse, and it's only because I watched Last Chance U. Dakota Allen's back at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another guy.
I liked him. He was probably the best character that Last Chance U has ever had. He was the one guy that I was rooting for. I mean, obviously there was the Big 12 connection there, but he really seemed like he took the opportunity and tried to improve himself, and he definitely did. So he's definitely a guy that I'm going to be rooting for on a personal level.
I think another guy.
Well, as far as
Go ahead.
Well, as far as non-players on Last Chance U, we are partial to Clint Trickett on this show.
Yeah, his helmet's off. He used to love taking his helmet off. Now it's always off. I think he's in his element.
Yeah. he got to show the salad, man.
I was going to say another player I really like or should be paying attention to is Ramon Richards. The fact that he's moved to safety, playing a different position, how he takes to that. He could do really well. He's kind of he has his moments, or he's had his moments in the past at cornerback. He would get burned a couple of plays, but then make the game-sealing interception. So it was kind of a love-hate relationship Oklahoma State fans have had with him. But moving to the safety role, if he can play kind of that heat seeker, that kind of roam around in the defense back there, I think he's a guy that could actually make a significant step forward in his play.
A lot like Caleb Kelly, he's a game changer. He's a game changer.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing everybody, and we're very grateful that you guys were able to show up today and that you guys were able to come on with the Raspy Voice Kids. We love the Land Grant Gauntlet. We like the Quick Slant podcast. We've been a part of it in the past. Jeremy Phoenix, Jay and Fiend made some noise when he was over there last time, and this time we got the guys on. So I have 3 questions to ask you guys before you go.
Okay.
First question. What is the best flavor of Pop-Tart?
Chocolate.
Strawberry. Frosted strawberry.
Strawberry?
Yeah, for sure.
There we go. Next question. Best fast food French fries?
McDonald's.
Chick-fil-A.
Okay. One right answer, one wrong answer.
I mean, given my physique, you want to know it, but I don't eat a lot of fast food. But when it comes to fries, I mean, I feel like McDonald's fries are hard to beat. I don't know. I don't like a lot.
McDonald's they're the greatest. McDonald's are the greatest. They're the Will Greer of French fries.
It's an American institution.
All right. That's right. All right, last question. Now, this is the most important question. Toy Story or Lion King?
Lion King, hands down.
Lion King. Music.
Oh, two for Lion King.
Well,
man, you guys did so much right today, and then you just ended on a very sour note. You got it wrong.
Well, first of all,
Jeremy's going to be happy. Mr. Baker Mayfield is a glorified Skylar Howard. That, just so you know who you're agreeing with. That's who you're agreeing with. Okay.
Fair enough.
All right, that's fine, because actually just recently my wife dragged me to the Lion King show. The Broadway show was here in Oklahoma City.
Yeah. And
it was really cool, and it got me like, it reminded me a lot of, I started remembering the movie more, and it's just a great story, and it was better than I remember it being, and I haven't, truth be told, I haven't watched Toy Story in probably a decade, or whenever it came out. So.
How old are you?
The best thing of any of those movies combined, though, are the Plastic Army Men from Toy Story.
Yeah.
I love those little guys.
How old are you guys? How old are you, Chris?
You don't want to know. I think I'm 36. I lose track and I have to add it back up all the time.
And I'm 26.
And
I remember seeing both. I remember seeing both these movies when I was a kid in the movie theater.
See, I was gonna say, because there's a little bit, almost a generation, almost like a little bit of a generational thing, almost. Because I feel like people who pick Lion King are picking nostalgia, but I'm 34 and I go Toy Story. So
that's probably true. I was a little bit too old to really pay attention to Toy Story, but when Lion King came out, my little brother was really into it, so I remember a lot of it from that.
Lion King was my favorite, but I mean, I just always say, who do you want, Tom Hanks or Jonathan Taylor Thomas? I feel like that's your answer.
Not fair. That's not fair.
That's right. You got that right. It's not fair.
Ferris Bueller is older Simba, isn't he? Matthew Broderick, isn't he? Yeah, he is. Yeah, Ferris Bueller's in it.
Oh yeah.
Nathan Lane's funny as hell.
Yes, he's great. Anyway, Our producer shaking his head no. He's a hater, though. He thinks that Forrest Gump isn't a good movie.
All right. Well, we'll just end the show right there.
Yes, that's right. All right. Thank you, Land Grant Gauntlet. Appreciate y'all. Everybody, pay attention to them. Tell them where they can find you guys.
All right. You can find us quickslantpodcast.com or at quickslantpod on Twitter. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and TuneIn Radio. That's all the podcast information. I'll let Brady tell you about the website.
Yeah, it's a quickslantpod, right? .com. The website, or Land Grant Gauntlet?
Yeah, there we go.
One of the websites. Yeah.
The LGG.com.
Sure. Yeah, and guys, we've got
LGG.com.
The Ohio State. The LG.
No, you didn't have to say it.
Why did you just do that for?
Because it just sounded right.
Well, just
no, does not sound right.
We've got. I think we finally got a good team of writers that are just as
an excellent team,
just as inspired about college sports, college football as we are, and they've been pumping out a lot of great content. So like really kind of get a head start on reading up on everything that everybody's been doing. It's been really exciting, and it's making our future podcast that we're about to do a lot more fun because then we get to talk about a lot of the stuff that some of our writers get to write about. So yeah, check it out, everybody.
Yep.
All right, you guys got it. You heard it. We thank you guys. Remember, I am Brandon Phoenix. I also hate Pitt. And if there was anything I said or did this whole show, don't forget, I also hate Pitt. We've gotten a lot of compliments on our helmet. We've gotten a lot of compliments on our shirts, the Mountain Greer shirts. Some of you have seen our dog shirts that we wear. Those are not for sale. Those are for us only at this point. But we want to make sure that you understand where we got those from. We want to thank the Beckner family. The Beckner family who owns the shirt factory in Parkersburg, West Virginia. We'd like to thank Joe Gonzalez, the general manager, as well as Michelle, the sales rep. They have done such good work on our behalf. They've taken such good care of us, in fact, letting us have this helmet. We were able to get this signed at Fan Day, even getting Coach Holgerson's name. You've seen us talk about it already on our live episodes on Periscope, on Instagram Live, on Facebook Live, but we wanted to make sure they got a proper recognition for what they've done. So if you need a shirt, you've probably already been there, whether you're getting shirts made or whether you're just buying something for your team, whether it be clothes, gear, or actual equipment. But if you have any of those needs, the Shirt Factory in Parkersburg is the place to go. That's where the Raspy Voice kids go, and we're not going to change anytime soon. Thanks for listening and watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Check the links in the description for all our other media outlets.
And no matter what you do, no matter what you heard, no matter what we said, don't forget, we also hate Pitt.